morning. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Htain, the next presenter. I do this a lot with my own series, Staging 101. It's pretty much like a YouTube series I've been putting out there, but it's about 85 minutes long, so I'm gonna have to trim down everything to fit into 30 minutes for you guys. So what we've done is we've limited today talking about pattern, color, and texture through pillows. We're gonna have to skip artwork, area rugs, wall covering, bedding, all of that stuff. So we're just gonna have to limit it to pillows today.
You did a course on that.
Yeah, if you want to do the full one, we're gonna do it on the Hive. The Hive's gonna have the whole entire thing. Okay, so basically a little bit from my background is I've been staging since 2005, and we got, as you know, onto the show Flip or Flop, and we ended up staging over about 118 properties for them on HGTV. And within that time, I was given a very limited amount to be able to create a scene and make it read very well, a good storyline with my pillows and my artwork and my wall art, everything that we had to manufacture for the show. So I got really good at making a property read really well within 3 seconds of viewing it. You have 3 seconds to check it out. How can you make it look very good? My background and my inspiration for where I learned all of this from, believe it or not, are from drag queens. Yeah, because if you think about it, they have the same thing. They have to hit the runway, and they've got a very limited time to show the concept and make sure it sells before they get, torn to bits on national TV. So that's sort of like where I started pulling things from, because there's a lot of color, pattern, and texture they use a lot of there to make sure that whatever kind of message they're trying to do is going to read really quickly. So let's see here. Why is color, pattern, and texture crucial elements in staging? First of all, it creates visual impact. That's something you want to do. It's going to make a statement when you look at it. Personality and style, it's going to add some whimsy, or it's going to make it a very serious style, very kind of stodgy, or maybe possibly even a very high-end style. Depth and dimension, you're playing with a lot of contrast and a lot of changing in sizes, scale, creating a warm atmosphere. Cold houses don't sell. You need to warm them up. And so using a lot of textures that are a little bit warmer or even rougher actually make the property feel a little bit larger, versus if you have stuff that's without texture, very sleek and shiny, that makes the property feel a little bit, actually a little tighter and closer in. So it's going to also highlight features of the property. You're going to use it for color for that. You can in your accessories, or however you do that for your staging. And then also appealing to a broader audience. The broader audience is going to be the people that you're trying to inspire to buy the property. So use your color and use your pattern and your texture in a way that's going to inspire them to be like, you know what, this house looks like it's a designer house. It's really elevated, and they want to put more money down on the house to buy it. And then also visual cohesion, because we often work with flipper homes, and they give us the product, and we need to make sense of it. So just like what Martha was saying, like a long time ago, we didn't I'm Generation X, by the way, as well too. We didn't really do mixed metals and anything else like that. But now we do, and now that's a common thing, and it's something that we bring into all of our stagings, and it's very allowable, and it's actually a very controlled designer look now that we're providing. Okay, so the power of color. Exploring the psychology of colors in staging is really important, because you can easily do something that's going to turn buyers off against what you're doing, what your efforts are in staging. If you're going to be bringing in the wrong colors, or if there's going to be something that just doesn't stand out right, look quite right. So you have to be very careful in the choices of colors that you use in a house. You want to make sure that it's going to accentuate features, and you want to make sure that it's going to actually bring up more positive attributes than negative attributes. So, for example, neutral tones. You want to use neutral tones like white, beige, and gray to convey a sense of simplicity, cleanliness, and sophistication. So you want to use this just for if you want a property to feel very open and envisioning for all the new buyers to come in and move their own properties in. That's when you want to use neutral tones in a house. Warm colors, reds, oranges, and yellows, those are associated with spice and warmth. So warm colors in communal spaces, that's where you want to do that. It creates conversation and a lot more people talking and eating together. Think about like McDonald's, how their logo is red and orange. It actually sparks appetite. A lot of people have like blue or green dining rooms and they don't really eat too much inside of them because it curbs the appetite. So here you go, blues, greens, and purples for cool colors evoke calmness, tranquility, and a sense of serenity. These are ideas for bedrooms and relaxation rooms. You want to use the cooler tones in that because that actually allows you to get more restful sleep. It's not too stimulating, so you're not going to be like awake looking at red walls. I see like a lot of red bedrooms, the Bordeaux bedroom, and I'm like, you know, like the whole sign at the top, the welcome to Pound Town. Have you seen that one? I know, I'm like the red background, I'm like, oh my gosh. Bold and vibrant colors, like red, turquoise, chartreuse, those convey energy and excitement and creativity. So use these very sparingly in accent colors if you can, because sometimes it can be a little too jarring. Like, I had one property that I staged that she was so insistent that a craftsman house had Tiffany blue walls, and I just was like, I've never seen that. In my 25 years of doing design, I've never seen a dark craftsman with Tiffany blue walls, and I know my color, and I'm like, I don't mean to disagree with you, but you're shooting yourself in your foot if you don't neutralize it, and she didn't do it, so it's still on the market. Earth tones, brown, greens, and muted tones evoke a connection to nature grounding the space. So if you want to have a harmonious space, this is what you do when you do a lot of earth tones. See in the picture here how everything just feels very harmonious and grounded. And also this works very well with places with a lot of high light, a lot of bright light into there. This is what something is really good for earth tones. And then, of course, you have your monochromatic schemes. And this makes a very cohesive and elegant type of appearance, using a lot of black, whites, and grays, and just kind of going for a very just black and white tone property. It also minimizes a lot of visual clutter as well, too. So you can use these color tones if you really want to have, if you have a very nice open space, and you want to have it look very, nice and spacious still without feeling cluttered, that's when you want to use a monochromatic scheme. Okay, so we're not going to cover wall art while covering area rugs, but they're important to do. Okay, patterns. We got to talk about patterns now. So here are obviously some sofas that we have seen out in like a Wayfair or something else like that. This is not an ideal sofa that we're going to be working with. But there is a way to work with pattern and understand, like, if you have to work with it, what to do in the case of doing that. So playing with patterns, I would suggest, if you're looking at patterns, to use a lot more texture and also a lot more solid colored pillows, neutral, solid pillows. You want to diffuse that floral background that you saw back there, because that's too much. And you don't want to mix a pattern on top of a pattern. That would just, that would take it to overload. So, patterns encompass a variety of visual elements such as geometric shapes, motifs, and repetitions, influence the ambience and also the character of a space. So, this sofa, once again, is not ideal either as well too. It's a striped sofa. We probably don't see too much of that unless you look on the East Coast. But there is a way to not perpetuate the stripes that you're seeing that's going on very Cape Cod, and that's to not use a striped pillow on top of it. You don't want to perpetuate that. You want to bring in other textures and other solid colors to be able to break that up, just as you would with the floral ones. Okay, so infusing personality and style, visual interest and focal points, establishing a dynamic rhythm in a property. That's what you could use a lot of a pattern for. Using pattern to give you size and scale references of perceived space. Layering for depth and dimension. That's another thing you do with pattern as well too, to make sure that certain patterns stand forward and certain patterns recess back. And also we use pattern in a lot of homes in Southern California that have like more of like a cultural reference to it, because you have a lot of those boutiques, a lot of Colleen fabrics, a lot of ICATs. So you have a lot of like those kind of interesting patterns that you could bring in for like cultural reference as well too, if you do have some of these properties. So, and pattern is just, all it is a repetition of the eye and control of the eye is what you're trying to do with it. So mixing patterns for a different cohesive look. You want to use a combination of scales. You want to mix large, bold patterns with smaller and more subtle ones as well too. You want to make sure that you're not going to have as many overpowering patterns trying to fight on top of each other. Mix them around, so don't be afraid to use a floral plus a stripe or a plaid plus a solid texture. Don't be afraid to do that. You may not want to, like I said, mix a stripe with a stripe or a floral with a floral. That may be a little too overwhelming for your sofas and your pillows. Choose patterns with similar color tones that you see in the property. If you want to make something to feel very youthful and kind of energetic, use the same things, but don't try and fight against the color palette. So if that means you have to paint the wall to get it to the right effect, if you're using a wild pop color, color scheme, then you may have to integrate paint into there as well too, or paint it all white. Incorporate neutral elements such as solid color furnishings and accessories. This is important to do as well too, because you want to be able to fill in the space as far as scale, and then also give it a little bit more breathing room on the side so you can see visually what's going through in the room. When you're creating your space plan for your place, you could use pillows to act as cast of characters on your sofa, to pull in the color scheme, to drive the whole entire overall design of your whole look. So like we said, experiment taking your patterns into other places with wall art, with area rugs, explore wall covering. There's a lot of like peel and stick wall covering that's really dynamic you can use, no damage to the walls. Okay, so some do's and don'ts of pattern selection. Do's, consider the scale of the pillow. Like they say in the drag world, you want to paint for the back of the room. Okay, you want the back of the room to be able to read all of it. You don't want it to be something that's going to be too small and that won't photograph or look good on camera and read really quickly. So it's important to take the right one that has a good pattern to it, and that's going to read from a distance. Here's a good one. And I'm just picking the color blue because I'm trying to isolate just for convenience, but there's a whole world of colors out there, but I just had to get something simplicity for blue. Harmonize colors, experiment with texture, create focal points with your pillows, and then also stay consistent. Try to move everything around. Try not to do everything different in the room. Try to create some kind of cohesiveness through your staging using pillows and accessories and art and wall. So if you're using striped area rugs, you may want to bring a stripe up onto the sofa as well too, to help kind of bring nods to that. Keep the shapes very similar that you're seeing. Floral sofas, you could probably get away with doing a patterned area rug on the ground as well too. So kind of go along with them and kind of stay consistent, because you don't want to kind of start bringing in too many different shapes all over the place. You want it to, once again, look very harmonious. You don't want to do the following. You want to make sure you can avoid clashing colors. Like we saw in the other photo over there, it was a little too bright, it was a little too much. We want to avoid the clashing colors. We want to also avoid overdoing very busy patterns. Once again, floral on top of floral, stripe in front of stripe. And when you get busy patterns and things that are colliding together, it creates a lot more consternation in the eye and the brain, and it doesn't fit. Something does not look right. It's not going to calculate right. Not going to show the math of the head. Do not ignore scale proportions. If you have pillows that you like some pillows to be larger than the others, then don't be placing like a large pillow in the front and a small pillow in the back, so you're not going to see it. You want to make sure the scale proportions are that the larger pillow goes in the back and the smaller pillows go in the front. Don't forget about negative space. And that's one thing that I have a problem with, because every sofa that I have has like at least 5 pillows on it. So I don't have like a lot of room on my sofas for anyone to sit. I don't want anyone to sit on my furniture. I don't want anyone to have sex on it. I want nothing to happen. So I secure my houses down, and nothing's gonna happen in my houses. Everybody wants to do with the HGTV house. Everybody does. And then also neglect functionality as well too. Form follows function. So that's a design rule. So you really want to make sure that you bring some kind of functionality into your staging when you're doing it, because that's really what's going to set it apart from being able to be a usable property versus something that's like, well, I can't really use this property, or it's not going to be unwasted space. Okay, let's talk about the texture equation. Okay, textures are good for tactile appeal, because they feel good. We are in a very feel-good industry. So even my business card, if you touch it, it feels good to touch. Because I want everyone to know that I offer a feel-good company. Only benign, friendly feelings. So the tactile appeal for textures are huge, because those are these plushes, textiles like these that look beautiful, that you can still read from the back of the room back there. Something like this, like a fur. I found this at IKEA. Yeah, this is really a nice pillow. So you could use those pillows for those creature comfort soft feels. That brings people together, gives them a warmer feeling about the property, and a better, warmer feeling about the staging. The texture is going to create contrast. You can use it like white pillows that are kind of furry, or like a flaccata one like I had over here. They're very sophisticated as well too, so it creates a lot of ambiance. It's it's very moody and very, very soft and very, very gentle. Spatial perception is really interesting with texture, because like I said, you can put texture down into a room and more texture, and it feels a lot larger. But if you remove the texture out of the room, it feels a lot smaller. So try to kind of use texture in a way to kind of really create space and define what you're doing. Okay, here's some before and after examples of texture implementation, taking it away from pillows and everything else. We'll get a little bit into this. But as you can see, we're talking about like brick walls. That could be a real brick wall, or that could be even wall covering. You have wall covering that looks like brick walls. You know, even paintable ones that you can paint on there as well too. There's kind of they're kind of like made out of PVC, I think. They're kind of like tiles, and you can put them up on there and you can paint them. Area rugs, looking at the area rugs and seeing how, you know, there's a void of any kind of pattern on the sofas, but now we're seeing some pattern appearing on the floor because they're trying to bring it up. Okay, let's talk about balancing all of them together. And how do you balance all three together? First of all, you want to start with a neutral base. Okay, begin with a neutral color palette as a base. I think trending-wise, we're going to find out obviously tomorrow, but we're not really looking at dark sofas anymore. Those charcoal sofas are kind of gone out. So now we're going towards light value sofas. You know, if you can rock the white sofa, then more power to you. But that's pretty much what we're looking at, is starting with neutral colors like whites, beiges, creams. And then you want to limit the color palette, and you don't want to be like, I'm going to put in like one room's going to be red, and one room's going to be blue, and one room's going to be green. Because what that tells to your buyers that are walking in is every room's different. There's no cohesion. There's nothing pulling the house together to make it look like a strong product. So they're like, well, it looks like this person doesn't get along with this person, and they have different color things. It just looks like a battle. So watch the color tones and how many colors you want to bring into a property. And then also use the 60-30-10 rule. That's a very easy design basic. That is 60% as a dominant, 30% as a mid-secondary color, and 10% as a pop accent color. And if you do that with the exteriors of your home, as we were training for staging, you can do that for the interior as well too, and that's a good rule for doing it. Usually, what I would say these days are contrast colors, starting with 60, which will be a light value, a 30, which will probably be a dark value, and the 10%, which will be the pop color, which will be like a, blue, green, red, whatever color you're using to bring into the staging. Coordinate the patterns. Select patterns that share similar colors or motifs. As you can see here with the blue, I would probably mix in something like this with something like this, as we saw in some of the photos. If you want to mix in color and everything else like that, coordinate the patterns and then change them around, like we said. You want to make sure different scales are being represented. You don't want to have the same scale. But if you have a neutral sofa that's completely solid, then you want to add in pattern and stripes and everything else to add texture. And you're going to be doing less on color. So does that make sense? So whenever you're dealing with something that's either too overly floral, overly striped, or anything else, you want to use color and you want to texture. You want to balance it out with the other side of it. If you get something that's going to be very plain and flat, you want to use texture, then you want to use color. There's other things you want to do on the other side of the equation. So, and then solid elements are very important as well too, to make sure that we don't have pass-through. Like I see a lot of stagers using glass, and once you use glass, you have to fill the glass with something, like a glass vase. You have to fill something, because otherwise it's not going to register on camera. So, introduce solid elements for texture. Get some like really chunky woven vases or something else like that, and use those as their accessories on cocktail tables or nightstands or dressers or something else like that. A solid element, something that's going to have a little bit more texture to it. Layer your textures strategically. Okay, so you want to make sure you do a variety of textures, and also make sure they complement the color palette. So you don't want to be like, okay, it's going to be like cheetah and zebra are going to go together, and bright red. It's not going to work. By the way, do never do that. I got eaten up alive on Twitter because I overlayered a zebra handprint towel on top of a red bath towel. Oh my gosh, I quit social media after that. Like, they ripped me up so much. Never do that. Learn from me. Consider the function of the space. You want to make sure that's going to be functional. Make sure form follows function, and then maintain the visual flow of the whole entire cohesiveness. You want to remember, we're building cohesive color palettes and pattern and textures that are going to be able to make you elevate your stagings to a point where they look designer worthy. Use color, pattern, and textures as accents. Use them around the property to gain somebody's eyes. So if you have a building feature or something that's different, use it to call out what the building feature is of the property. So when we stage towards what the buyer preferences are at all times, so if there's like a little wet bar or something, I'm going to stage it. And if there is, if the ceilings are over 9 feet, I'm going to put really big artwork on the wall, big trees, because I want to sell the vertical square footage. So use pattern, texture, and color to call out special things in the property that you want to use for like comps. For be like, hey, check this one out. This is what this property has. An anomaly, that's what I'm saying the word is. The anomaly effect. The one thing that makes that property stand out completely different than any other property. Okay. Did I do that? Did I trim it down to from 85 slides to less? Okay. Anybody have any questions for me? No? Awesome.
I do.
Yeah.
Where do you get, so you have always curated your looks beautifully, so talk about, just briefly about where do you source your pillows to get that unique look?
I source from many places. Every one of my pillows are down insert because I have to chop them because that's my OCD thing. So, and they all are generally 20 inches or 26 inches. And I get them all from IKEA, H&M, Amazon's a huge one. They have a back catalog on Amazon, a designer's catalog that you can access. And they've got like a whole bunch of designer pillows out there that you can just find, and they are like dirt cheap and they show up the next day for you. So Amazon's a huge one that I use. Overstock, which is now Bed Bath & Beyond. All my all my inserts though come from IKEA because they have 20 inch downfill inserts and I could buy like a lot of them. I have over 4,000 pillows in my inventory. Yes, I have a pillow addiction. It's unhealthy. And I even got rid of 350, but then I gained an extra like 600 after that. And I'm like, what the hell?
You know, Kevin, I have to tell you, you know why we love throw pillows so much?
Why?
They're grown-up stuffed animals.
Yeah.
They are our loveys, our stuffed animals, and that's why we love them.
I love them.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kevin. Absolutely terrific. There's one more question, and he will be around. There are going to be moments that you can take him aside, you know, maybe buy him a drink tomorrow and have a little conversation. So we will get more time with Kevin and others.
I like that.
Do you? I will buy you a drink. Fantastic. What do you want?
Can you tell us your top 4 favorite vendors here in Market?
Well, Diamond Soap, obviously. Diamond Soap, they're local to me. Star International Essentials for Living, they are also local to me as well. They've come and rescued me big time for my design clients. My staging vendors, I don't really get to use too much at a wholesale for the price point. But for my design side of it, I'm very heavy with a lot of the vendors, and I mean, that's when you're spending a lot of money on the big, good quality pieces. I just can't fathom spending that much on something that could possibly be destroyed or ruined. And I'm like, well, unless it's for my design clients and it's a good quality piece. Yeah. June?
Sure. You said your original inspirations for drag queen shows. Who's your big inspiration now? Drag queen show. Still the drag queen show?
Oh, so you guys have got to check out Nymphia Wind. Nymphia Wind just came onto the scene. She's the first drag queen from Taiwan, but she won the ball, and that's where she did a ball with a whole bunch of ties, and they had to do 3 different looks, and she's a great fashion designer. Q is a good one as well too. They're all on this season right now. They're like, I mean, I really look at the runway is my favorite part to see everything come together, because that's when I get to see the concept come into reality and see how far they've come really quickly. And that's what drives me, is because I look at my photos at time after stagings and I'm like, you know, I want to make sure they're going to read really quickly and they're going to read really well. I've learned my mistakes from doing HGTV plenty of times. I mean, there's a couple projects that I don't wish they would ever show again, but you learn. Your answer?
Kevin, what is the design catalog on Amazon?
You have to go through the business portal. You have a business account.
Yeah.
Then I'll show you on there. There's like a back catalog of a whole bunch of business products, like pillows and home and stuff like that. When the ports came in, they got all the port lockdown happened. They came with all the surplus of furniture. So Target slashed all the prices. Everyone dropped all the prices on home furnishings. Just to get them to move and sell quickly and get out of there. And that's how the Amazon part popped up.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you so much, Htain. Thank you so much. absolutely true.